for some context, Mehdi Hasan has a show on MSNBC. And Mehdi Hasan is, I would argue, one of the best folks over on MSNBC making shows and content and such. And he had a Twitter spat with Vivek Ramaswamy, Republican presidential candidate. And basically, Mehdi Hasan read Vivek Ramaswamy's book and noticed that there's a lot of inconsistencies between what Vivek in the past said and what he says now, and that's very interesting. And Vivek did not really appreciate having to account for his past words and deeds. So let's take a look at it, because I think it's actually pretty fascinating to watch.
Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You and I both grew up as kids of Indian immigrants who loved to debate, super confident, perhaps overconfident in our views. But here's the difference. I kind of know my limits. You, on the other hand, having never held or even run for any elected office before, be it Congress or even school board, having not voted in 3 presidential elections in a row, suddenly...
You know, okay, just real quick, one thing that I love about Mehdi Hasan is that he's what, like, every like host on news shows should be like, you know? He should be like, he just comes out of the gate swinging on chumps. Okay? Like, he is there, and he's just like, you know, the things you say don't make sense, and you seem to be completely unqualified for this. What do you think about that? And honestly, we need so much more of that in content being fed to liberal viewers. So it's very refreshing.
Now want to be president, go straight for the top job on planet Earth. Your critics would say that's the epitome of tech bro arrogance. What is your response to them? I get that you're an outsider. Personally, I like outsiders. Yeah. But what have you done that even qualifies you to be president of the United States?
So look, Mehdi, I have been taking on bureaucracies my entire life. I took on the bureaucracy of big pharma starting in my late 20s.
I love the fact that he's framing the fact that he owned a pharmaceutical company and grifted an Alzheimer's cure or treatment drug, and then parlayed that to basically pump up the value of his company and then sell it before people found out that the Alzheimer's treatment was bullshit. I love that he's framing that as him fighting the bureaucracy of big pharma. Him pump and dumping his pharmaceutical company. Insane. This guy is a demon.
At a time when I think pharma was corrupt and going in a lot of directions that they shouldn't have been.
He literally made his money on grifting a pharmaceutical company.
I actually built a multi-billion-dollar business developing medicines that pharma had abandoned. I took on the ESG bureaucracy, competing with firms like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard to build a successful firm called Strive. Yes, none of that is in government, but it is in the private sector. It involves taking on bureaucracies.
Okay.
And that exactly is my mission here, is taking on the biggest bureaucracy of all, that in the federal government in Washington, D.C. And the other thing...
By the way, I do love a bit that Vivek's just completely mask off with what he wants to do, right? Like, his entire position is, well, the bureaucratic state needs to be completely and utterly dismantled, and I'm here to do that. And, like, the bureaucratic state is what allows you to have clean drinking water, okay? The bureaucratic state is what allows us to facilitate, like, the law and criminal justice. It's what allows us to tax billionaires instead of focusing on taxing the poorest people in the country. The bureaucratic state is what facilitates everything that makes America America. And it's wild that they are just blatantly being like, yeah, all of this stuff that allows America to function, we should just gut it. To me, it's like looking at a car and being like, yeah, but this thing would run better if we took out all those heavy engine parts. God. Fish Missile, thank you so much for subscribing over on Twitch. I appreciate it. Thank you for being one of the first people to support stream in like 2 hours. I genuinely, deeply appreciate it.
I'll add to that, Mehdi, is it's not just the outsider pitch. I think we do need an outsider. I think it's good to have a business background. But I'm also an outsider who deeply understands the law and the Constitution in this country. And I think that's the unique combination that actually makes this my calling. And I hope that we're going to be successful in reviving this country.
I deeply understand the law, which is why I want to dismantle the bureaucratic state that allows law to function.
So you talk about your business background. Let's talk about that. You made your name and made a lot of your early big money from pushing an Alzheimer's drug that had already failed 4 clinical trials when you bought it. You then talked it up on CNBC, in Forbes, on the cover. Your company's subsidiary shot up by billions in value when it went public in 2015. But then the drug failed its phase 3 trial on your watch. The company lost 75% of its value in a single day. Ordinary investors like the California State Teachers Pension Fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you cashed out beforehand via your parent company to the tune of, I believe, over $37 million. Your critics say it's a classic pump and dump scheme. What do you say to them?
I love that he immediately brought this up. Oh, God. This is so good, dude. I haven't pre-watched. No pre-watch Arito, by the way.
BWA.
Win B, thank you for the $5 dono. BWA. Also, I need to do a workout stream soon where, like, every dollar that you donate, I, like, do, like, a rep of some kind of exercise. I think that'd be great. We'll try it out, and if you destroy my body, I won't do it again. I'll learn my lesson. Here we go.
Yeah, Mehdi, that's the standard opposition
reason. Oh, God, there was a point in time where I could do burpees. I'm not doing burpees on stream, okay? I did not look cute doing burpees.
Search during politics reading line. Anybody in the biotech industry knows this story very well. 99.7% of Alzheimer's drugs have failed. That's thousands of drugs. Mine was one of them. But the company I founded, Roivant, developed a range of medicines. And the way I made my money was not through the failure of that Alzheimer's drug. This is one of the pieces of misinformation from opposition research. I could have sold shares in that subsidiary Alzheimer's company, but didn't. So the person who was hurt by that was me.
Hold on. But you say this a lot. But you did sell shares in Roivant, and you made $37 million.
And Mehdi,
$37 million.
Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience. Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience to be accurate. That is shares in a different company, not Axovant. And those shares that I sold are worth. And those shares are worth dramatically more today. So I would have made more money had I held on to those shares. So don't believe what the opposition research purveys through the media.
It's not opposition research. We looked at your tax returns, which you very kindly have released.
Yeah, exactly.
And you made
voluntarily released.
Oh no, the consequences of my own actions. You weren't supposed to read the tax returns that I released. It was just supposed to be good PR. No!
Because I want to be transparent.
You made $300,000 in 2014 on capital gains. In 2015, after the IPO,
he made 300. How old is Vivek Ramaswamy? He's really young. Vivek Ramaswamy age. He's 38 years old. So in 2014, just real quick mental math, okay? He would have been 24 years old. I cannot imagine making $300,000 in capital gains income. And again, that's in capital gains, meaning that's money that he was able to have invested and then was getting that $300,000 back as a return. That is crazy. That is crazy. Oh, Midnight Null Night. I did do burpees well. It's just not an attractive thing to do on stream, and I'm not going to do it because I'll do like 10 of them and be dead.
IPO of this Axovant, you made $37 million in capital gains. Yet others didn't make that kind of money.
After Mehdi, give me a break. After Roivant, the multi-billion-dollar business that developed 40-plus medicines, yes, I sold shares in that business, if I may actually.
Yeah, you sold the shares right before it was revealed that the Alzheimer's medicine that was completely dependent for one of your most valuable companies was revealed to not like actually work, and like the entire company got destroyed as a result.
Allow you to know how I made my money. Developed 5 FDA-approved therapies that are now FDA-approved today.
After you sold
one
the
of them is a life-saving therapy
FDA
in
approved
kids.
when you were CEO,
Another one.
Vivek, the cake, is trying to weasel out of this. This is pretty great.
They were FDA, actually, over the time that I developed them, we took them all the way through phase 3, and then we did a $3 billion deal that actually...
They were approved a year and a half later after you sold the company.
Yes, so Mehdi,
Tanuki, not Kintama.
Yeah, I'm not going to fault you for not knowing the first thing about biotech, because that's not your job, but getting through phase 3 is the final stage of clinical testing before you hand in the application.
Well, frankly, Vivek, it's also not your job anymore. Because you sold out right before it was revealed that your premier therapy was not something that worked. And that's probably something you knew about ahead of time. Just throwing that out there.
Yes, my company did a $3 billion deal that actually did make money.
Wait, his father was a doctor and his mother was a doctor. His father was a bioengineer?
For those shareholders. And so, yes, I have built Roivant's a publicly traded company, nearly $10 billion public company today that I built as the sole founder from scratch, as one of several companies that I've built. So, yes, I have a business record that I'm proud of and will equip me to lead this country.
You mentioned stage 3 trials. The Alzheimer's drug failed it after you did a lot of touting of it. You say 99.7% failed. You never said that at the time. Do you have any regrets about how you hyped that drug?
I did say that.
CEO of Roivant said this week that you hyped the drug. Do you regret hyping it?
We did not hype the drug. To the contrary, actually, one of the things...
We didn't hype the drug. It just, and it had nothing to do with the fact that our company value went from $5 million to multi-billions of dollars of value in the space of 6 months. We didn't hype it at all.
CEO of Roivant
one of the things that I found
this week.
It was just a coincidence. It could happen to anybody. I heard about a lemonade stand that got started, and a week later it was worth $10 billion.
Well, I can't speak for what is or isn't. I haven't read any article that you're quoting, so I don't exactly know what you're referring to. The fact of the matter is, though, I have been transparent at every step of the way. Everyone who is in the biotech industry knows that Alzheimer's disease is the graveyard for medicines. But I still think it's an important area of need. And I'll say this, Mehdi, is, you know what? If I serve for 2 terms, I'm still going to be in my 40s when I leave the White House. It is a personal passion of mine to come back and see if Alzheimer's disease hasn't been cured. I do want to play a role in still delivering treatments and cures for that disease. And people who don't take risks, don't achieve meaningful impact, the medicines that I did develop, I'm proud of.
I do have to say, it galls me a little bit that he is saying that the medicines I developed, you didn't develop shit. You owned and paid other people to develop it for you, okay? Like, you weren't doing any of the actual work to make the medicines. You were just moving money around. And then when investors came knocking, like just rolling in their money like Scrooge McDuck.
And you don't get there without having a number of medicines that you test along the way. And the other thing I will say is our success rate under my watch was higher than probably nearly 99.9% of biotech startups in the last decade. So yeah, I stand by that record. I'm not afraid of taking risks. That's part of the American spirit, and I stand by it.
Technically, the successes were a year and a half after you sold the company, but we can...
Mehdi Hasan has the perfect cadence for this conversation, which is just kind of like laughing contempt for Vivek. I think this is perfect. He's striking the perfect tone. I want him to interview every presidential candidate.
We'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Mehdi, that's dead wrong, and I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage. The final
Fine,
stage,
I've
the FDA
embarrassed
phase 3
myself.
studies succeeded.
Got
So
it.
you're barking up the wrong tree, but we can
Let's
continue to move
let's
on.
talk politics. Let's talk politics. We do. We want to talk lots of stuff.
Sure.
You're an advocate, your critics say, of fantasy politics, of magical thinking. They say you propose stuff that can't be done. For example, you said on Meet the Press the other week that if you had been in Mike Pence's place on January the 6th, you would have insisted on first passing a bill that night to bring in single-day voting on Election Day with paper ballots.
That's inaccurate.
Government-issued
I never
ID.
said that night. I never
Chuck
said that
asked
night.
you
Now,
what you would have done on January the 6th, and you said I would have done this. And
I
the
said
next
what
day
I would have done
gone.
differently is that
Yeah, if you were the vice president, you would have just passed some legislation, because that's what the vice president does.
I was precise about the period between, and this is still ambitious, I will admit, but at least let's get my view correct. It is ambitious. Between November 4th and January 6th, I think it was an opportunity for heroism.
Just to be clear, you never said anything about
said it every step.
Let's play the clip. Guys, do we have the clip?
I've said this in countless forums.
Oh, God. Does he have the clip ready? Oh, my God. Oh, get his ass, Mehdi. Oh, get his ass. Hit him with the spirit bomb.
On your Chuck Todd splice script, in all of my written statements and everything I've said,
Hold on,
we've
we're
said
playing the clip right
in
now.
that
Let's play the
period
clip.
between the election. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would
Just his reaction here, where he's like trying to maintain like the smiling politician grin, and then he's like losing it. It's great. He looks so pained.
I would have
you have
driven
done
it through the Senate.
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election.
Vivek, not only do you not mention anything about November, but let's say you did do November. That joint session was not a legislative session.
Ambitious.
The vice president doesn't have the power to introduce legislation. Neither party would have backed such a bill.
Oh, come on,
and it couldn't have been passed in a day.
The
You're
fact
just
of the matter is,
naive stuff
the
that can't
president,
be done.
the president and vice president absolutely drive legislation through Congress. That is exactly how
but
things
Trump
work.
wasn't doing legislation.
Now,
he was busy pushing the big lie, as you pointed out yourself in your books.
Well,
so he wasn't
and
there.
I wasn't
Mike
the vice
Pence could
president of the
not
United States.
have passed a bill. But
Yeah, but you were asked what you would do if you were the vice president on January 6th, my dude.
And
you
I was
asked
not the
what you
vice
would have done
president of the
if
United
you were
States.
Mike
You guys
Pence.
in the media,
What would you have done?
you guys in the MSNBC crack me up to sort of create a hypothetical situation to say, if you had been vice president, what would you have been doing? I'm telling you exactly what I've been doing, but you're saying, but that's not what Donald Trump was doing.
Well, except that's the entire premise of your presidential campaign, is it not? Exploring the hypothetical of what you would do if you were president. Yeah? Like, it's not a ridiculous hypothetical to ask, okay, if this is what you would do as president, what would you do as vice president? That's not a ridiculous question to ask, actually.
See,
This is
Mike
a joke.
Pence asked you.
Let's
hold on,
actually
Vivek,
have
hold
a
on.
substantive conversation.
Hold
Do you want to
on.
have a substantive conversation
Hold
about
on.
what should have happened,
I
or do you want to play a
underst-
game of gotcha? Because you
Yes.
have the choice.
I
The
wanna
choice is
ask
yours.
you
Do you
what-
actually want to have a
can I
substantive?
speak?
Oh, this is delicious. We have like, we still have almost 20 minutes left. This is great. Oh,
Conversation.
Yum.
If you do, I'm down to do it.
will
Do
you
you want a
let me get a
substantive
word in?
conversation? What we need.
You've said substantive 4 times. Can I
Actually, if
speak?
you want to get a word in, you know, if you're going to speak the
Mike
truth and ask a
Pence,
legitimate
Vivek,
question, have at it.
I think
Let's
it is a
actually have
legitimate question.
substantive
Multiple
conversation.
people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage.
multiple people have wondered whether or not you actually know how Congress works.
Asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
So fine, you don't want to
And
answer
what
it.
I'm
You think
saying
you
is
could have
it
passed
was
a
a
bill.
missed opportunity for heroism. Not in one day, but I think that in a period of 2 months. And I think you're a smart guy.
It
You
couldn't have been
understand
done
this.
in a lame duck
There's
Congress,
an American
Vivek. You're
confidence.
a smart guy.
I
You know
think
it couldn't have been done in 2 months.
I think under extraordinary circumstances, in extraordinary times, we have an American Confidence in Elections Act. It's literally making its way through Congress now.
In extraordinary times, I would simply do an impossible thing. Because I am magical, somehow. I have the power of Reagan inside of me.
ACE. I support it. I think if we had gotten that done during that window, further we said single-day voting on
Democrats
election
wouldn't
day
have
as a
agreed to
national
voting
holiday.
ID, and Mitch McConnell wouldn't have agreed to a national
I think
holiday.
Democrats should agree to it.
We can argue forever.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
That's a different
argument.
It wouldn't have
I
happened,
think
is
we're
what
still
I'm
going to
saying.
get that done when I'm the president.
Okay.
When
so
I'm the president.
Would he also have decreed everyone gets free chocolate candies and you know, a turkey in every pot like by election day? Like, what, again, if you're just gonna pull random shit out of your ass. He has dementia. Well, you know, no wonder he's so keen to get that Alzheimer's drug. Okay.
President.
So
Not
you
in some
make a lot of-
fantasy land where I was vice president in some
So
other year in the historical
let's
history.
talk about you as
but
president.
What I'm running for,
Understood.
this is what we're going to do.
Let me ask a question so we don't run out of time. Please don't filibuster. I just want to ask a question about when you're president, you say you said, this is your words, quote, if you want to stay out of no-win wars and make America stronger at home, I know how to get that done. Genuine question, Vivek, not a gotcha. How? How do you know how to get that done? With respect, you've literally never done anything like that in your life. I could go out on the street outside the studio, grab someone. They have as much experience as you do of keeping us out of foreign wars. That's not an insult. That's just a statement of fact.
No, it's not an insult. It's a fact, right? And it is also a fact that everybody else who does have experience in the foreign policy establishment has been sending us into no-win wars for a long time. Both of those are facts. Here's how I would do it. Let's get specific, and I'm glad we've finally gotten to the doorstep of actually discussing a policy agenda. Here's what I would do. Pull Russia apart in its...
Wait, but you were asked about what your policy agenda would be if you were Mike Pence on January 6th, and you didn't want to answer that question.
Military alliance with China. Those two countries are in a military treaty dating back to 2001. That is the single greatest threat that the United States faces. So I would end the Ukraine war on terms that, yes, allow Ukraine to at least come out with its sovereignty intact, which may not even be the track they're on right now. But in return, and also make a commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO.
By the way, I like that he just assumes that the United States can dictate the terms under which Ukraine surrenders to Russia. I think there's another country here that has more of a say, and that's the country of Ukraine, which the United States doesn't own.
Conjunction, and by the way, for people in the foreign policy establishment, they forgot that Gorbachev was...
A chicken in every pot, and a cap in every ass.
Made that promise by James Baker in the United States in 1990. Well, so keep our word there, but in return, actually make a hard...
Okay, but basically he's saying that Russia and China have an alliance, and that's scarier than anything else that's going on right now. So what should happen is the United States should force Ukraine to surrender to Russia and give up their territory and sovereignty in said territory, but maintain some semblance of a state. And that would in turn allow the United States to just kind of fuck off, I guess, and ignore world politics. Essentially, that's the argument he's making.
Requirement that Vladimir Putin exit his military alliance
with China, you say this many
and remove
times.
his Russian military presence from the West.
Russia's not going to do that. Like, our demand will be that Russia remove its military from the West. Like, oh, you mean like Ukraine? No, not that far west. Okay, but like, what about Transnistria in you know the occupied territory in Moldova to the west of Ukraine? No, they can keep that too, as long as they remove their troops from the West. Like this doesn't. This is a child's conception of like geopolitics, at best. And like the other part of it is, China's not going to exit a defensive alliance with Russia. Kyryu, thank you very much for gifting Chaotic Kitten a sub, and thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate it, because when you guys give me subs like that, it allows me to buy food and not die, and I appreciate both of those things a lot. So thank you. also, this is a bit of a tangent, but I recently learned what girl dinner is, and I realized that I've been having girl dinners for a long time. Apparently, girl dinner is when like girls just like eat like a I don't know, like a piece of toast with like guac on it, and then like for like breakfast, and then at dinner they have like nachos. Like that seems to be what girl dinner is. I don't know, just the random shit in the fridge, and you're a little gremlin. That was me today. I didn't eat anything until like 6 o'clock, and I had a piece of a small piece of birthday cheesecake that I had frozen, and I realized, oh my god, I'm having girl dinner. My transition is complete.
That's the deal that I would do.
Again, the fantasy land is, why would Putin just agree with you? Why? Because you asked nicely, Putin will hold his word. He'll pocket your concessions and not just carry on dealing with his biggest trading partner, China?
Well, here's the thing. I actually think that China shouldn't be his biggest trading partner. I think it's a mistake that we've closed off economic relations with Russia. I would lead both the United States and the West to reopen economic relations with Russia, because Putin does not enjoy being Xi Jinping's little brother. Mehdi, you're a smart guy. Look at what he's done. He's actually sent weapons to both India and Vietnam right after the February 2022 meeting he had with Xi Jinping. There are cracks in that armor, but we need to actually open our eyes to see the opportunity staring us in the face.
We will have to agree to disagree whether we think that you can persuade Vladimir Putin to drop his alliance with Xi Jinping.
Look, if we just remove all of the restrictions, he won't want to do a war. Except we did that. We didn't have any restrictions in place, and then he invaded a country. he continued doing evil shit. You like Vivek thinks that he can negotiate with a guy who literally has killed people with like radiation poisoning, and like put some of the deadliest poisons known to man in people's like underwear to assassinate them.
You've made truth the centerpiece of your campaign. So let's talk about your trustworthiness.
Yes.
For example, when CNN quoted you talking to The Atlantic about 9/11 and federal agents possibly being on the planes, you said the quote is wrong, actually. But the quote wasn't wrong. The Atlantic released the audio of what you saying exactly what they said you said.
Mehdi, actually,
let me finish the question.
Let me be crystal clear.
Let me finish the question.
The Atlantic released the whole tape. They've refused to do it. Yeah.
You said on Twitter Spaces last month that no, you had never supported Bernie Sanders' mask for all legislation, but you literally put out a tweet in July of 2020 calling it a sensible idea. You also said not once but twice in June and July that the first time you'd ever voted was in 2020 for Trump, but in fact the first time you voted for president was in 2004 for a pro-choice libertarian candidate. How can people believe what you say?
So, Mehdi, let me just go through one by one. The Atlantic, yes, purposefully spliced an out-of-context quote where we have challenged them. They released the tapes. We asked them for the tapes first. They didn't give them to us. They waited then to splice them and release them publicly. I challenged the Atlantic to release that entire conversation. And what was a conversation about how many federal agents were in the field.
You said was wrong. We all heard it. We can play it if you like.
No,
it is exactly word for word what she quoted to you. You said they put words in your mouth.
Look, if you want... If you want hard facts, here are hard facts. That day, The Atlantic printed it. I said, that looks like something that never captured the character of our conversation. Can you ask Atlantic for the tapes? They said they would refuse to release the recording to us. So when Caitlin asked me about it, I said, that does not at all sound like the context of what I said. And then, it turns out The Atlantic releases a very... Everybody should listen to it.
You're putting words in my mouth.
It functionally sends the wrong message, Mehdi.
Oh, functionally. Okay. You could have said it's out of context. You said
so badly.
Look, I said it, but, they didn't release the full tape where it sounded better.
Taken out of context that it misled their audience. It was so badly taken out of context, it was basically a lie and it misled their audience. But ask the Atlantic to release it. So my view here is, here's what I've learned, the media distortion filters. Mehdi, if they are going to cut something before and after without the question of what the guy is that came beforehand, come on, why wouldn't the Atlantic? Why are they so reluctant to release the whole recording?
Maybe.
Why did you call them liars when they had a recording of you saying the exact thing that they said you said?
Because the audio they released, you're still denying you said what's on the audio. Okay, let's ask you this question. Is Donald Trump,
it's a
as
joke
you say
that
now,
the media is going to selectively edit this, and this is the way this game is played. Politics is dirty. That's okay. I'm ready for it. It's not edited, just to be clear. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century? Of the 21st century. Yes,
he was. Let me ask my question. Let me finish the question. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century, who you say you want as an advisor and a mentor if you become president? Or is Trump, as you've said in the past, in your books, on Twitter, a, quote, sore loser who is a, quote, danger to democracy and who did, quote, downright abhorrent and egregious things on January the 6th? Which one is he, Vivek?
So to be crystal clear, between George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump.
Let me be crystal clear.
Those are the presidents of the 21st century. Donald Trump is unambiguously, as judged by the results, the best president of the 21st century. Kept us out of wars, grew the economy. I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
But you've also called him a sore loser who is a danger to democracy. Those are strong words.
Would I have made the same judgments that he has made at every step of the way? No, I will remind you that I am running for U.S. president because I am best positioned to lead this country forward.
Can I ask you what they are, Vivek? Yes. You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
You can tell, by the way, that Vivek is on the back foot so utterly and completely here. Because he's like stumbling over his words. He's trying to talk over Mehdi Hasan. Like, dude is not doing okay. All right, he's taking some critical hits here.
To be really fair to your audience, so on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you... That's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact. That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on, was that...
Mehdi Hasan just, like, Mehdi knows that he is fucking just beating his ass in the marketplace of ideas.
Condoning what Trump did, my answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime.
And
we
you're
need to be
able
to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time I
think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is
Vivek,
I would have declared re-election on January 7th.
I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement...
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No, unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you...
I'm not gonna let you use your interview magic jutsu against me. Ha! You see, I have studied under the masters. I am the fifth Hokage. I have mastered the art of crystal clear. Like, he's so scared. He's so scared.
Together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Not gonna let you. Stitch.
Yes, I want you to answer my question, Vivek. Three times I've asked it. What did Trump do that was downright abhorrent? It's a simple question. It's your words. It's on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do.
Is that the abhorrent thing? He failed to unite the country?
That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has.
You're just trying to avoid the question at all costs. Okay.
Done them. That's the hard truth. Okay.
And that's what made him a sore loser and abhorrent.
The media
yes, your words.
and the Well, the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, the reason
Mehdi Hasan's like, you really won't say it, will you? That's very interesting.
Have been so vocal is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear.
I understand
he made
your
bad
objections
judgments.
to the
I've
litigation.
been crystal clear.
Is a distinction we have to draw.
Understood. You say you are anti-identity politics, anti-affirmative action in a party that hates the Soros name, yet you accepted a Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship at law school that was specifically set up for the children of immigrants. It was an affirmative action scholarship, and your defense for that is that you didn't have the money to pay for law school, even though you'd already made over $1 million at the time and made another $2 million.
He got a scholarship for law school. He got a scholarship for law school after making millions of dollars. What the fuck, dude?
My defense of that is somebody gives you a merit scholarship at the age of 24, you take it. At the age of 24, somebody gives you a merit scholarship.
He's just so excited to not have to talk about why Trump is abhorrent anymore.
You take it. I didn't say I didn't have the money. I said at a time when I had a lot less money than now, $50,000
you said
was
exactly
still
I
useful
didn't have the money,
to me.
Vivek. You keep forgetting your quote. You said, when I didn't have the money.
So Mehdi,
Mehdi,
I made this really easy for everybody. And I did this in the early weeks of the campaign.
Yeah.
I released 20 years of tax returns.
Yes, you did.
Something that no presidential candidate, let alone somebody who's successful in business, has done. I challenged Democrats and Republicans alike, including the Biden family, to do it.
And we looked at
you know
them,
what? I released it so that you could look at them, so we can have an honest conversation.
Much. And I appreciate that.
The funny thing I've
I
learned,
do appreciate that. It's something Trump should learn from you.
I think that transparency is important.
Look,
so
here's
it's already open and everybody.
Oh, I disagree, Miss Heyer. Vivek is also terrible. He is an open fascist, and we'll get to why after we cover this when we start talking about Project 2025.
Can see it
exactly. We have 2009.
But the fact of the matter is, you know what I would advise
Hold on, you told me to look at them.
24-year-old should take
2009 and 2010. You made $750.
Oh, you know what? I agree with him there. I agree with him. It's the one time every 24-year-old should take $50,000. That should just be national policy.
$50,000. You had the money to pay for law school. You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean, none of this is worthy, but if you think it is, let's get to the detail. That was actually the first big piece of money.
You say you're anti-affirmative action. You took a scholarship for immigrants.
I'm anti-affirmative action.
So why did you take a scholarship for the children of immigrants?
Which falsehood would you like me to address? The financial one or the one about my views on affirmative action? Because I can go in whichever order you'd like.
On
the financial piece of it. Not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't have a realistic chance of winning the election. No. But he does have a realistic chance of being included in cabinet positions, which is also still very frightening.
December.
Yes, you did, Vivek. This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
No, it's not awkward for you. Yes, on December 31st, when the application for the scholarship was that October. Mehdi, you're wasting your time on childish details. In October of that year, when I applied for that scholarship, and it was, well, guess what? The bonuses that a hedge fund pays, and it's a shame that, again, you don't have to be an expert on this, but if you're going to spout out, you better know something about it. People pay at a hedge fund the bonuses at the end of a year, and on December 31st, that's when I was paid. I applied for the scholarship that September, and I did not grow up in a wealthy family.
Vivek, you made more money the previous year.
I made $200,000 pre-tax or whatever it was.
No, you didn't.
And you know what?
No, you didn't. You're now telling flat. In 2009,
you have my tax returns in front of you. I don't remember what I made in 2009.
In 2009, you made $650,000.
Dude literally holds up his tax returns live. That is incredible. That is incredible. Yeah, I actually have it right here. God damn, this is a murder. He brought the receipts. He's pulling out the plastic body bag he packed to clean up. Oh my god, the cleaning crew's arriving. Oh, no one's even gonna know. Mehdi Hasan's gonna get away with it.
In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship,
I'm sorry. What?
$50,000. So the argument.
Wait.
$150,000. In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship,
Oh, well, if he only made $450,000 pre-tax, he was basically living like a pauper. There's no way you can afford law school if you're only making a paltry 450,000 pre-tax, you could barely afford to make rent with that amount of money. Jesus Christ, dude. He genuinely is hoping that this is a gotcha. It was pre-tax, though.
Oh, so now we're bringing tax into it? We've been using gross numbers.
Mehdi, yeah, absolutely.
Vivek, you're wrong on this. Go back and check your tax returns. You made
obviously makes a big difference.
And then you accepted a Soros scholarship for $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Well, you know what the fact is, Mehdi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then, and anybody who has a few $100,000 in the bank is going to take $50,000 without strings attached. Take the scholarship. But my question for you is, why on earth are you, as an intelligent person interested in politics, obsessing over a 24-year-old's $50,000 scholarship?
I'm interested in truth,
beneath
Vivek.
you. We have a country to fix.
Why are you asking me these inconvenient questions?
I'm interested in truth.
And Mehdi, that's why I released 20 years. Mehdi, that is why I released 20 years of tax records. Tell your friends in the Biden administration to do the same thing. Tell your Democrat candidates to do the same thing.
We've gone over time.
We're breaking precedents, and I think it is pathetic. I just think it is sad and pathetic that that we have important issues to talk about for the future of a country, and you're talking about a $50,000 scholarship in 2010 to go to Yale Law School when I was 24.
If you just owned
this is pathetic, and is why nobody trusts you guys.
It is pathetic in your view, but you paid a Wikipedia editor who then removed it, so clearly it's something you didn't want people to read about. Last question, because we've gone over time, and I respect you.
Who also said I was born in India. Who also said I was born in India and misspelled and got my wife's name wrong. So yes, we actually need to correct facts when people are playing this game.
Last question. You want to ask a substantive question. Here's what I worry about most. Democracy in this country.
I would love
not just under Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Not just under Donald Trump, but under you, people are worried about authoritarianism. You have preemptively promised to pardon Trump no matter what juries of his peers decide, as well as today extending those pardons to January 6 rioters. You've dismissed white supremacists as boogeymen and unicorns. You want to fire at least half the federal government workforce. That's over 1 million people. You want to remove the right to vote from 18 to 25-year-olds. That's over 30 million people. You want to get rid of birthright citizenship. In fact, you refer to voting and citizenship as privileges when they are, in my view and in the Constitution view, rights. It's a very anti-democratic worldview. What do you say to people who criticize you for that?
I don't think it's an anti-democratic worldview. I favor reviving the life.
I don't think it's anti-democratic at all to disenfranchise 30 million people.
Blood of our constitutional republic.
There's nothing more democratic than forcing 30 million people into disenfranchisement and making sure they don't have a say in their government.
Revive actual free speech and open debate in this country. Revive civic duty in this country, something that our founding fathers envisioned. Revive true equality in front of the law, where people aren't.
Oh yeah, no, he's a demon. He's hollow inside, and what lives inside is a demon that lusts for power and money, and that is it.
Prosecuted because of the color of their skin or because of the content of their political views. One standard of the rule of law for everybody. I stand for the founding vision of the country where the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government, when in fact most policymaking functions in D.C. are performed by federal bureaucrats. So yes, my standard is, would Alexander Hamilton and John James and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, would they be proud of what they see today, or would they be appalled? I think if they walked around and saw Washington, D.C. today, they would be appalled. By the time I leave office in January 2033 after two terms...
I think they'd probably shit their pants at, like, the idea of a building that could be taller than than, like, 4 stories, or, like, the concept of cars, or the ability of smartphones to be able to access any information you want around the planet. I think instead they'd probably shit themselves to death again.
Terms, they will once again be proud of what we've created, a government with 3 co-equal branches, not 4, shutting down that administrative state, reviving civic duty, and reviving one standard of the rule of law for all Americans. And that is not a Democratic vision or a Republican vision. That is a pro-American vision that I think can actually reunite this country, which is what I believe I will uniquely be able to deliver as the next president.
Vivek Ramaswamy, we will have to leave it there. Appreciate you coming on the show, taking my questions, even if you didn't like all of them. Appreciate you taking time out from a busy campaign.
Thank you. Look forward to discussing more of the agenda in the future.
Next time, definitely.
Yeah, we'll never see Vivek on this show again. Oh my god, dude. He got manhandled in that debate. You know, he was like a screaming child just getting like moved from like the high chair into the crib. Like he was just absolutely decimated. He was scared, he was nervous. He got bodied, exactly, Winby. Wow. Um, yeah, look, people like Vivek are completely devoid of actual principles or morals. Vivek's moral system and what he cares about isn't really related to any coherent ideological policy or purpose. Instead, all he cares about is accruing more power, in being able to give the biggest tax breaks to his rich friends, and being able to essentially dismantle democracy and to be able to hold on to power for an indefinite amount of time. It is the wet dream of every dictator to do so, and it is why so many violent coups happen. The thing that makes America special is that our bureaucracy, our democracy, our system of government, when it is working, even ineffectually, is essentially the peaceful transfer of power. That is one of the hallmarks of our system. And frankly, he just wants to get rid of that. He doesn't want there to be a transfer of power at all. That's kind of the main point of his entire thing. Like, getting rid of younger voters. It's so that they don't have to campaign anymore. It's so that conservatives just win elections automatically. Getting rid of birthright citizenship. It's so that they just win automatically. It's bringing back the era of aristocracy are the only voters, you know? It's the undoing of the fourth estate, you know? This is realistically like just going back in time, or the third estate maybe. It's just, I don't remember which estate was which. I think the first estate was nobility, second estate was clergy, third estate was the people. Is that correct? I think that's correct. My bad. Anyway. Yes. Okay, cool. So it just seems to me that like he wants the ultimate undoing of the concept of democracy. The very undoing of it down to the bones of it that were established in the French Revolution. You know, it was. It's frankly just kind of unconscionable that like he's just openly pandering to that end. And you know, it's more funny when like some random person in Georgia is making that argument. It's funnier. But when you have somebody who is worth millions upon millions of dollars, who has a decent shot of holding an actual position of authority and power within our government, even if he doesn't win the presidency, that's scary. Having people who are openly hostile to the concept of democracy being given more and more political power is dangerous. Deeply dangerous. Because for everything that people can say about folks like Mike Pence or the generals in the Pentagon, right? They might be conservative, but they believe in democracy. On some level, they believe in democracy. And maybe that isn't true of Mike Pence. I don't know. He seems like kind of weaselly. But it's definitely true of like the generals in the Pentagon, right? And like, it's why Mattis like wrote a book where he's talking about how like he was prepping his staff about how they weren't going to let the fascists win on January 6th. You know, like, having people in positions of power who are willing to resist an attempted fascist takeover is what allowed us to survive January 6th. It's what allowed America to survive that event. And what we're seeing is Republicans who are making it clear that if a January 6th type event were to happen again, well, they would be pretty okay with allowing it to happen. That's a key part of what they are auditioning for here in the Republican primary. That is a key component. They're making it clear, hey, Donald Trump, put me in, coach. I'll make sure to do whatever you tell me to do when the time comes. So, I know that was a fun interview, but we need to keep in mind that despite that being really cathartic to watch, Vivek, even if he's not close to being president, still represents a pretty big threat to democracy, and his rhetoric is quite clear on that front.